Well, the White House National Security spokesperson John Kirby has confirmed the Chinese spy balloon shot down off the south coast of Carolina last week was no threat to the American people. He did confirm China has been operating a high-altitude balloon program in the region for some time. Joining me live now is the former White House Chief of Staff and Senior Fellow at the not the US Studies Centre, Bondi Partners, Mick Mulvaney. Great to see you, Mick, once again. This is really becoming a story that's dominating security in the US and here in Australia. Australia is starting to ask questions of you, our allies, about whether there's any intelligence that's happened here. How big a threat is it, really?
We don't know how big a threat it is, Laura, because we don't know how long it's been going on. There's been a great deal of confusion here. Keep in mind, right after the incident off of the Carolina coast, and as I mentioned it, the balloon went right over where I'm sitting right now. The military put out a statement that said this had happened several times under the Trump administration. We knew nothing of that, which means either the military saw it and didn't tell us, which was a mistake, or they didn't see it at all, which was a mistake, or it didn't happen and they're lying now, which is an even bigger mistake. So there's a great deal of confusion here. It's hard to say how much of a threat it is until you know more about what it actually is, and we don't know that right now.
What's happening in terms of the American people? Do you think this is something that they are and have always been concerned about? Is it going to hurt Biden?
I think it will, because it goes to the competence of the issue. Keep in mind, confusion is not something that benefits any government, and there's been a great deal of confusion over the course of the last week or so, up to and including not these things were UFOs. You cannot allow as a government to have those types of voids, because those voids get filled. I was listening to a very reputable radio program today where the host suggested that maybe this was an alien response to the work we were doing when we bombarded an asteroid a few months ago. When you can have that type of debate, clearly it means that the administration has lost control of the narrative, and that will ultimately make the leader, in this case Joe Biden, look really weak.
Really? So this is allowing conspiracy theories to absolutely flourish at the moment?
Yeah, I think you had this. They came out today and said they're absolutely not UFOs. Why did they have to say such a bizarre thing? Because the military actually got asked the question as to whether or not this was an alien spacecraft, and they said we're not ruling anything out. That's technically probably the right answer, but from running a narrative in terms of what the government wants people to know, it's just absolutely crushing, because people's minds automatically run to the most extreme cases.
Yeah.
Transparency is good, information is good, but allowing vagueness and voids is not good.
But that answer, I mean, we're not ruling anything out, is what's wrong. I think a great example of modern day politics, where no politician wants to rule anything out or in or make a decision because it could come back to bite them. Like, it's absolutely crazy that they wouldn't even straight away just treat that kind of claim with contempt, isn't it?
I try to think about what it would be like if I was in the White House today and Donald Trump was president. We were having this conversation with our team, and someone might say, well, do we want to say it's UFOs? We might come out with a statement that says, look, it's absolutely not a UFO. And if somebody says, well, what if it is? They said, well, if it is, 6 months from now, is anybody going to remember that we said it wasn't, or are they going to remember that it was really a UFO? So there's certain benefit to clarity and a certain benefit to a definitive statement, and that's what the administration has been lacking over the last 10 days.
Yeah, the dithering, absolutely. Well, it's been now a bit of distance. We have a bit of distance between the State of the Union. So what are the polls saying about what that did to Biden's credibility in the eyes of the American people?
Yeah, very similar to what happened to Donald Trump in 2019 when I helped write the speech, was that the speech was very, very well received. People liked the speech, but it did not change their opinion of the candidate. It has changed the opinion of Joe Biden within the Democrat Party. Again, it was a good campaign speech, Laura, in that he had energy, he was quick-witted, he did not look like a doddering old 80-year-old man, and that was an important thing from a political standpoint, but it didn't resonate with the people. It resonated inside the Beltway, in that Washington bubble. And a lot of Democrats now talking about maybe no one will run against him, or maybe he will run for sure in 2024, because it had that impact inside the Beltway, but it didn't really move the numbers in the broader country.
Did you watch Super Bowl?
I fell asleep after the halftime show. I heard the big news was that Rihanna was pregnant.
Yes.
But I think it's about 100 million people here locally. Domestically, it's by far the largest television program, and it's become sort of a cultural phenomenon. I think it's on early in the morning down there. Is that? Is that
Yeah,
when
no,
it's on?
it's on about midday, so most people are at work. But I called it the Super Bowl, but what it really was is the Rihanna concert with a bit of a side of football. And yes, the big news, you're right, Mick Mulvaney, that the Rihanna is pregnant. But not only she's pregnant, this is her second pregnancy. Her first child is still very young, and she was suspended about, I reckon, kind of 100 feet up in the air in the middle of a stadium. So, they often say pregnant women need to probably take the back seat, not do vigorous activities. She certainly didn't do that. So you saw the halftime show at least.
I did. I kept waiting for them to give Donald Trump some credit. Keep in mind, the father of her children, as I understand it, is A$AP Rocky, the rap star that Donald Trump got out of jail someplace in Scandinavia. But we're still waiting for the thank you note on that one. Look, it was a wonderful show. She lip synced. I'm not a big Rihanna fan. I enjoy the production. A lot of folks do. But you're right. For most of the country, it's a halftime show bracketed by some sporting activity, and that's certainly what it was.
Oh, great. I'm glad that most of Americans think that as well, not just me and some of my friends here. But look, Donald Trump was very critical of her performance last night, so maybe there's a bit of animosity. Is that right?
I certainly think it goes back to the A$AP Rocky thing. The President Trump really did go beyond and was not treated very well by the family after it happened. So it doesn't surprise me he holds a little personal animosity. It also doesn't surprise me that he tries to make it about him. That's just his mode of operation. So those statements really didn't shock anybody who knows anything about what happened or about Donald Trump.
You're spot on there once again. Mick Mulvaney, thanks so much for your time as always. See you soon.
Thanks, Laura.